I still remember the exact second my own father looked me in the eye and said, "This house isn't yours anymore. Walk away." I was standing on the porch I'd painted with my own cracked hands, lungs still rattling from 3 weeks in the ICU, hospital bracelet cutting into my wrist like a joke that wasn't funny. And I smiled. Not because I wasn't dying inside. Because I'd already buried something they didn't know was dead. And 7 days later, I dug it up and handed it to them gift-wrapped. My name is Caleb. 32. Night shift mechanic at the wastewater plant. The guy who can smell chlorine 2 blocks away and still can't wash it out of his skin. 3 years ago I bought a tiny brick ranch on Mercer Street. One crack in the driveway shaped like a lightning bolt, one creaky back door that only I know how to sweet talk shut. It wasn't much, but it was the first place that was ever just mine. Dad called it cute. My little sister Nora, 27 going on 17, called it a starter house she could fix. Dad's love always had a favorite child, and it sure as hell wasn't the one who showed up on time and paid the bills. Mom vanished when I was 9. After that, love in our house came with a price tag and a lecture. If Nora wrecked the car was at fault. If I came home with a 98 on a test, I was told not to get arrogant. I learned early, feelings are fine, as long as they're hers. 3 weeks ago I coughed up something dark in the plant basement and thought, that's normal. Keep working. By midnight I was crawling across the ER parking lot because my legs forgot how to stand. Bilateral pneumonia. Collapsed lung. They slid a tube between my ribs while I stared at a ceiling tile with a brown water stain shaped like the state of Texas. Room 518. Dad visited exactly once. Stood at the foot of the bed in his work boots, arms crossed, like he was waiting for me to apologize for being sick. You should have called. Day 14, my phone buzzed. A photo from my neighbor, Mrs. Delgado. My front door wide open. Nora carrying in a velvet couch that definitely didn't come from IKEA. Dad holding my spare key like it had always been his. Caption, helping your sister move, with the little moving truck emoji. I stared at that photo until the screen went black on its own. I never answered. Day 21 they wheeled me out into sunlight that felt like a slap. I took an Uber home because asking family for a ride felt stupider than dying. Dad was watering my lawn. Nora was measuring my living room wall with a neon tape, talking about knocking it out for better flow. I stepped onto my own porch and Dad didn't even look up. It's not your house anymore, he said, calm as if he was telling me the mail came. Locks are changed. Nora needs stability. You're never here anyway. Nora gave me the smile people give when they've already won. There's a studio downtown on Craigslist, she said. Super cozy. My ribs were still bruised from the chest tube. I looked at the front door I'd hung myself. At the mailbox I'd painted midnight blue because Nora once said it would pop. And I said the only thing I had left. Enjoy it. Dad snorted. That's it. That's it, I answered. Then I turned around and walked away before the tears hit the sidewalk. But here's the part they never saw coming. While I was counting ceiling tiles in room 518, something in me snapped clean. Not angry. Quiet. The kind of quiet that plans. See, the house wasn't just a house. It was the only thing I ever finished. Every overtime check, every skipped beer with the guys, every Christmas I worked double so Nora could have highlights, it lived in those walls. And they thought they could just take it. Because they always had. Night 4 in the hospital I asked the nurse for a pen. On the back of the dinner menu I wrote one line. They can have the house the day I stop owning it. Then I made phone calls with the curtains drawn and morphine humming in my veins. Call 1, my buddy Derek who moonlights as a process server. Call 2, a real estate friend who owes me for fixing his boat motor at 2 a.m. last summer. Call 3, the locksmith who installed my original deadbolt. He still had my key code on file. I scheduled everything for the Monday after discharge. Then I waited. Monday, 7:55 a.m. I stood on my own sidewalk in a clean shirt, folder in my hand, heart beating slower than it had in years. Dad opened the door in my bathrobe, my actual bathrobe, like a king who'd forgotten there was ever a war. Nora padded out behind him holding a coffee mug that said, "Boss Babe." Dad started in, "Look who finally." He stopped. Because right then the locksmith van rolled up. Then the black sedan with the property manager I'd hired. Then a Subaru with out-of-state plates and 2 exhausted travel nurses who'd just signed a 1-year lease at $2,800 a month. Cash already in my account. Dad's face did something I'll never forget. It folded. Like someone pulled the air out of him. I handed him the blue folder. Inside, a 7-day notice to vacate, time-stamped, photo of it taped to my front door the day I left the hospital. Proof of delivery. Proof of new locks installed without owner consent. Proof of trespass. I didn't yell. I didn't have to. The locksmith was already drilling. Nora started screaming that I was heartless. Dad called me Judas, Cain, every Bible name he half remembered. The travel nurses stood quietly by the maple tree, holding each other's hands like they'd walked into the wrong movie. I looked Dad dead in the eye and said the sentence I'd practiced in the dark for 21 nights. You taught me family takes care of its own. Today I'm taking care of mine. 20 minutes. That's how long they had to grab what belonged to them. Nora threw glittery throw pillows into trash bags and cried so hard her mascara ran gray. Dad stood in my living room and whispered, "After everything I gave you." I answered, "You gave me the example. I just chose a different one." At 8:26 the new tenants carried in a box labeled kitchen. At 8:29 Dad walked past me without touching me. At 8:30 the door closed behind them and the new deadbolt clicked like a heartbeat finding its rhythm again. They still call. They still curse. Aunt Rhonda left a voicemail saying hell has a special room for sons like me. Dad emails in all caps about blood. Nora posted a 10-slide carousel about toxic masculinity and tagged my job. I read everything once, then archive it. Because the real twist, the one that keeps me awake smiling now, isn't that I took the house back. It's that I finally figured out the house was never the thing I was protecting. It was me. So here I am. New locks. New tenants. New air in my lungs that doesn't taste like bleach and guilt. And I keep thinking. If the people who are supposed to love you most can look you in the face and take every inch you fought for, what does forgiveness even mean? Could you do it? Could you forgive them if they never even said sorry? Drop your answer below. Because some nights I still don't know mine.